Hey guys, Toby Mathis here, and today we're going to be talking about how businesses misuse AI. In fact, 99% of businesses, I would say, are using AI incorrectly. What are the big ones and how do you fix them? And I have an expert, Brian Hanson, with me to go over that from AI for Business. Brian, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Toby. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Hey, and I'm glad to have you. So what we're going to do today, guys, is we're going to go over, Brian's going to nail out what he sees because this is his world of businesses that are misusing it, some of the biggest mistakes they make and how you cannot make them and what you should be doing right now because AI is going crazy and how quickly it's improving and it's not going to slow down, guys. So let me start with this, Brian, right out the gate. What is the number one screw up that you see with the businesses the way that they're misusing AI right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's probably more than one of them, but I would say that the couple that come off the top of my mind is a lot of people get into AI and they start using all the free tools. And then they form a assumption on how AI works and how it's going to perform for their business. And they're not really seeing the real power. The difference between the free tools and the paid tools are like night and day. And so when they're getting kind of what they would refer to as maybe AI slop, they're probably right, you know? And so sometimes you do have to invest a little bit. So when it comes down to what AI can do for your business, the answer is pretty much about anything. But they chase like the shiny objects and the fun stuff. And the reality of it is most of the best tools on market are going to be the boring stuff. It's the stuff that gets the job done. So like I always ask business owners to ask themselves, what is the biggest roadblock in their company? Or if they haven't started one, what's the biggest roadblock keeping them from getting started, and focus on finding that tool. I would say, honestly, that's probably the biggest thing is I see a lot of people chasing things and they're chasing the wrong thing. They need to ask themselves that very important question is, how is this going to help my business right now? And the tools are usually there.
So let me peel this back. So the first one is don't use the free, but it's not. Do you have to use the enterprise version, $300 a month, or whatever these things are, or is it the $20 a month or $10 a month? Are those ones good too?
No, typically the $20 a month is more what I'm talking about. The enterprise, it kind of, that'll depend on what you're trying to get. And, like I said, that's not very expensive to have. But using the free models, a lot of times it's just kind of watered down and people will form opinions on AI when they really didn't get the full. The difference in the models are like night and day. So if you're using like the very bottom model, you can't even compare it to the stuff that just came out now.
Can you give an example of the top, let's say two or three that you see businesses using that are really effective?
Everyone will always ask me, which one do I use? And the answer is usually all of them. So, for research, I love Perplexity. For creative, I use Claude. So Claude's very good at writing creative. And once again, I'm using the top model. So right now for Claude, it's Opus 4.6. For images, like advertising images, I like to use Nano Banana, which is Google's Gemini. And if I want to get access to like real-time news, like I'm looking for trends, maybe it's for blog posts and stuff like that, I'll use Grok because Grok is the only model that has access to all of X, and X is kind of where you find like millions of reporters. But from the frontier models, yeah, I kind of bounce around depending upon what I'm using that day. And coding, I'm not really going to get into coding today, but Claude is very, very good for coding.
Okay, and let's talk about then how businesses can use it. So you mentioned shiny toy, but if you were gonna narrow it down and say like it's somebody who's a real estate investor, maybe they're trying to get more deals, or hey, I have a pizza shop and I want to get more clients. What are the tools that those folks might use that you're seeing the biggest bang for the buck that they really should spend time on?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I want to back up on that a little bit too, because the whole rabbit hole thing, it's even more so a business strategy. So when we look at a business, it's not just about the AI tool. Some people will have a bad business model, so they're following a bad strategy, and then they're looking for AI to solve that. And AI is not really going to solve like a bad business plan. It's going to be an extension that helps you move faster. AI is just going to help them fail faster. So they're going to spend more time and money on something that never worked. Generally speaking, you still need to have a good foundation. Like when we have problems in our business, we've kind of turned this corner where instead of looking for the tool that's going to fix it, a lot of times we're building the tool. And so there's apps out here that I don't think a lot of people realize how powerful they are. Lovable is an example. So Lovable is a great, it's an app building tool, and anybody can build apps now speaking plain English. I don't know a single line of code. Like, I don't know any kind of code. I couldn't tell you what I'm looking at. And I built an app that has over 3,000 people on it. That's a paying app. That's $97 a month. And to think of building something like that on my own, I did the entire thing myself without anybody's help. And that's just insane to me. And anybody on here can do that. So anybody listening right now, you can literally get on Lovable with plain English and say, this is what I want to build, and it'll build the app. So example of that recently, we had numbers just everywhere. So we had numbers in Facebook, and we had numbers in our CRM, and we had numbers from Zoom of the show rates for events and stuff like that. And it was a lot of data. So we had people always trying to give us the real-time data. We just built an app that pulled all the stuff in, and we did that internally. I think it's just we turned that corner with AI when we realized, heck, this stuff isn't as hard as I thought. I literally just typed in what I wanted and I built it myself. The real estate side, another example with Lovable. I'm building an app right now that we started about a week and a half ago. This is a little bit, I can build like a staging app or something like that in 10 minutes. But this one we're building now, it's a little bit more to put together. So we're building in a dialer. We're building in a driving for dollars part of it, where it has GPS and tracks them, and it enters all their data to the CRM. It has a marketing side of it. It drops direct mail with a tool called Bob. I do things a little differently. So like with that app, when they're really big things, like for real estate example, we're literally building everything into that. I'll usually start in Claude. So I go into Claude, and because Claude's a great programming tool, a great thinking tool, I'll use Opus 4.6, and I'll say I'm a real estate investor, and I do creative real estate investing here in Jacksonville, Florida, or national, or whatever I want to say. And I can say these are the problems I'm having, or I can just say what would be an amazing tool that I could build out on Lovable. And then I'll just say something like, great, give me the cut and paste prompts that I can put right into Lovable to build this entire app. And it comes back and gives me all the prompts. I cut them, pasted them, and I built out an app that's absolutely incredible. And so, I think having that power, and also the power of automation. A tool called Twin came out, and you can, just like Lovable, speak plain English and create automations. It's literally going out and find cash buyers for me. It's going onto courthouse records and finding litigation pending and probate deals or whatever. And then it can go out and skip trace those deals, and it can go ahead and send them messages through email. So the stuff's getting really intelligent now. We're moving at a very, very fast pace.
So no matter what industry you're in, there's a way that you can use these tools. And by the way, I just want to say, if somebody wants to learn how to do this, I'm just going to pimp you out here for a second, Brian, because you guys teach a free live online. So a virtual event, it's 3 days, right?
It's 3 days long, yes.
Yeah, and it's free. All you have to do, guys, is go into the comments and write free event, and we'll send you the link. And by the way, we're sitting here in 2026, and you might be listening to this 6 months from now going, is it still, some of this stuff you said, hey, there's been updates and everything else. Great. Go to the event and learn how to use these things and implement them to your business. It's absolutely free, and our clients love it. Let me ask you a question, Brian. What's the most expensive or some of the biggest screw ups you've seen with businesses with AI? Because, we're still at the inception phase. It feels like we're really early on. Mm-hmm. And this should be make business owners feel better, because it's like you're not late for the party. The party's just getting started. You could start learning this stuff, but you better plug in and start learning it. But what are the things you've already seen people do where you're just like, ooh, don't do that?
Gosh, there's so many. I think one is just skipping altogether stuff that works. So like I said earlier, they'll go after the shiny object stuff and look past the boring stuff because it's boring. But like there's certain things in your company that you do time and time again, and there's an AI that can just take it over where you never have to do it again. Some of it, honestly, is just as simple as like a note taker. Like they have people on the phones and they're trying to write down all the stuff, like the selling signs on like a seller call. And then they're trying to put together emails so they can do follow-up campaigns. And all that kind of stuff is autonomous now. But like just a note taker app, as simple as that sounds, that's huge for people.
How do you use
It'll,
that? How do you use that like a note taker? Because I see them all the time showing up in Zoom and everything else, and
yeah,
they monitor all. Seems like they're monitoring everything. But can you use one like on your phone, or is it something you have to
yeah.
use on a computer?
Great question. So I use a tool called Granola, and with Granola you can, and it's not the annoying one that pops up on Zoom and stuff. It's hidden in the background. Nobody knows it's even on. But you can make outbound calls. I use it in person, and one of the things that makes it a little bit different is not only does it transcribe and listen to the entire call, help you keep your promises and like take notes on what you're promising to do during the call, but you can create templates. So let's say you are like an investor and you're buying houses. It can know your frameworks of what you usually propose on a house. And it can take all the details from the call, understand all the pain points, and help you frame the offer and proposal that gets sent out to autonomously create the follow-up. And so, just having stuff that can do those kind of things doesn't sound like a lot. And it's usually not where people start, but it's very helpful when you start to add all those little things into your business, or, another I guess when we're on like mistakes, I guess when I start talking about chasing shiny objects, sometimes it's even using tools that are great, but they're using stuff that they're in over their head. So like, I saw as a recent example, OpenClaw came out, but everybody started downloading the thing. And if you're not technical, you can't put that on your personal computer. So people were getting their stuff hacked and their APIs taken, and it's digging into their personal sensitive information. It was injecting malicious code. And so you also have to be careful what you use. So you need to, one, make sure that you're going after the things that are going to be the most helpful in your business right now. And two, also go into it with some knowledge of what you're doing. Don't just jump in because somebody's like saying this is the world's greatest tool. Really understand like what you're getting into. And so I think a big thing is owners do need to pay more attention to this. This isn't a flash in the pan type thing where I think a lot of people thought AI wasn't that big of a deal. It's going to be part of all of our businesses. In my opinion, I hate to say this, but the people that don't start to use it are going to have themselves a hard time keeping up. Mm-hmm. And for like investors, like you said, there's just so many ways they can use it. You can have chatbots set up that know your business very, very well, that can tee up the calls and do most of the legwork. The people that talk to our chatbots don't know that it's not a real person. We personally use CloseBot, which is a great tool, crunching data. So like in investing, taking courthouse or not courthouse records, but the MLS data and even records like that. AI, you can upload and go through millions of points like in seconds. So it can crunch that data, stack the list, notice that, they're in default, that they're going through a divorce, all those things together, which before you would have to pay like 20 grand to like a data scientist to go through all that stuff and do that for you. Now you can do it in seconds for practically free. Even this houses that are selling. So if you put all that data in, it can tell you the street in your city. Like if you buy a house on this street, it's going to sell the next day because it's just watching everything up to the minute. And it's a great for data crunching.
Again, we're using real estate, but let's just say it's stock investors too. Maybe they want to do deep dive on a company. You could build an app that says these are the things that I like to use when I trade, and voila. And it could spit it out for you in a few seconds, as opposed to having to go back and forth and look around it and possibly make a mistake.
You absolutely can. In fact, speaking of stocks, like there's at least one I know of because I've used it where Lovable has templates, and there's like a stock template where you can put in all of the ones that you want to watch, and it automatically tracks all those and has all the data right in front of you every day. So for somebody trading, like, you could easily create an app like that. For those listening, I don't know if you know what an API is, but it sounds kind of technical, but an API is how you can attach another website and data to your app. So like if you wanted to connect Zillow with their API to your Lovable app, you could do that. And all of a sudden you're pulling data. Well, a lot of people don't know this, but there's tools. One example is called browser-use.com, and they have a tool on there called Skills. And let's say that you typically go and check courthouse records for defaults every morning, or whatever it is. You can do the task on your computer and hit record, and then hit stop, and it creates a custom API.
Wow.
So that can be very powerful, because you're doing this tedious, mundane work where you should be focused on the high level of your business, but you can't, because those things might be really important. You haven't found somebody to take them over yet. AI can literally just record what you do. You hit end, and then it creates an API that goes into your tool. And every day that you wake up, it's already done for you. So it does get really amazing. It's a little hard to kind of talk about it when I'm not showing a screen. We will do that during the free event. If you guys want to come watch, we'll be showing demos of the stuff. But I don't think the average person actually realizes how easy this has become. And once they do, this is going to be a whole different world. Every single business owner is going to be creating apps. They're all going to be creating automations. And once again, like Toby said, you're still early. So the good news is you can kind of get in there, start taking advantage of this stuff before every single person is out there is doing it. Because it's going to come to the point where if you're not doing it, it's almost just silly, because you're going to be at a huge disadvantage. But I can't tell you, because we get about 10, 20,000 people registered to attend our event every month. And most of them, if they have even done anything with AI, it might have been dabbling with ChatGPT. Most people haven't even touched it yet, which is crazy. So you are still early.
Which, by the way, is really good, because you haven't gotten all the bad habits and you haven't chased down all these things. You can say, all right, here's what I want to do. This was interesting. I'm going to focus on this. And I'm going to use an example, Brian, because I've been through your to a live event. Where you're talking about even just taking a snapshot of yourself and creating images and putting a different background, putting yourself in a suit and all that stuff. Things that you used to go out and have to hire somebody and you have to do a photo shoot and all that stuff, and getting good promotional materials and creating a website and doing all those things. That's a pretty extraordinary thing you could do to save yourself some startup money. And then you go to the big side, and these people that are doing big things, and you can create your own app, you can create your own ecosystem. And I'm just going to say this as an attorney. You're talking to ChatGPT. That's not a privileged communication. So you need to make sure that if you're working with professionals, for example, that they have the sandbox of what they're using and what the privacy is, so that it's not going off somewhere, because what you don't know can hurt you sometimes. You don't know what you don't know. But all those things, this is the time to learn it. It's not going to be in a year, because it's going to have moved so far. Is to start learning. Go to an event, just type in free event down in the comments, and we'll send you the link so you can go absolutely free and register for Brian's event. All right, let's finish with this. The best tip that you would give anybody out there that's thinking of starting with AI?
I would have to, not to be redundant, but I would really have to say that focus on the thing that you need done that's going to make a dramatic impact in moving forward. So look at what is happening in your business, your life, or whatever it is that's holding you back the most, and find the AI that's going to solve that. Because otherwise, you're going to have a lot of fun with this stuff, and because you won't be able to believe what you can do when you actually start to try it. But then you wind up finding yourself wasting a lot of time, because you're testing all these things and you have all these ideas racing around, when there was like a really blatant thing right in front of you that would have moved mountains if you would have conquered it. And it takes you so long to just get back there. And so I would probably say that. And also, I think another important thing is there's a misconception right now of where we're at with AI. So when you got a lot of people out there that tried it, dabbled with it, and they'll naysay and say, call it AI slop and all that kind of stuff. Well, AI is a lot different than it was 6 months ago. It's a lot different than it was even 30 days ago. It changes dramatically. And we've exited the place where AI was a consultant. We're still there. You ask it questions, you're going to get great answers. But we moved from AI being more of a consultant into AI being a contractor. So instead of me saying like, how can I do this? I'm saying, go do this. And I don't think a lot of people realize we're there yet, but that we are there. So instead of using it as a Q&A, we're moving to this place where we're using it as go get it done. And that's the big shift for 2026, is really understanding where we're at right now. I don't think many people still just look at it as a chat GPT question and answer type tool. And we've moved far past that. So we're at a whole different level now.
It's effective on that, but that's like having a computer and using it to play solitaire. Yeah, I'm
Correct.
just dating myself there, but I remember,
I love
it's like it could do a little bit more than that, but half the time you're sitting there moving around the cards. Any like clients that pop to mind where you're like, man, they just kicked butt doing that, or anything that you could say even internally that you said this moved the needle?
times where I've seen the biggest, like, oh my gosh, this just completely changed our entire company, is when I see people start to build tools internally for their company themselves. I think one, it solves a big problem, but also there's some pride there, like, holy crap, I just did this on my own. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't pay somebody 50 grand and waited like 6 months to get it done, or a year, which typically would have taken. I actually did this. And so there's a lot of, they get excited, and it also solves a huge problem. So, and I've seen this in multiple industries, from finance, real estate, just kind of all over the place. So I even see people creating tools that they're just paying for, and they're like, I'm tired of paying for this. I can just build it. There's very simple tools. Like, I just built Typeform last week, and it took me about 20 minutes to get done. That's a massive company. I built a tool that gets testimonials from my clients and automatically uploads them onto a wall when they come in, and on a website. And so I think that probably is the thing that I see as the biggest needle mover, is people solving their problems by building a tool on their own, just by speaking plain English, which is really, really crazy to see.
Yep. And it's just getting started, guys. All right. So if you want to learn more, 3-day free class with Brian, just type in a free event. We'll send you a link. We'll also put Brian's, is it okay to share your Facebook and things like that so people can go in there? I know you post stuff on a daily and that they could stay up to date. Is that cool if I put that in the show notes?
Absolutely. Love to have you following me.
All right, guys. Thanks, Brian. And guys, good luck out there. I'll try to put some interesting links in here too, and I'll see if I can't put something, maybe your top favorite tools. We'll put links in there too, so that we're getting some value out of these folks.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on, Toby. And just the last words for anybody listening to today is to just stop being afraid of trying this stuff out. It's not as hard as you think. Sometimes, like, I'm talking so technically, people are like, oh, of course you can do it, Brian. I don't know how to write a line of code. Like, this is literally going to turn you into a professional button pusher. So I'm just pushing buttons all day, speaking plain English. And it's hard to relay that until you actually see it. But come to the free event too, and I'll show you. We'll walk through things together, and I'll show you on the screen. So once again, thanks for having me, Toby. I really appreciate it.
All right, guys. We'll see you later. Good luck.